Imagine this. The ground trembles beneath your bare feet. The air is heavy with the scent of dust and wild grass. All around you, shadows stretch across an endless savanna, where danger lurks in every flicker of movement. Suddenly, a rustle in the tall grass. A predator's eyes lock on yours. You are unarmed, fragile, and yet you are destined to become something the world has never seen before. A hunter, a human. The story of us begins here, 6.2 million years ago. This was not a time of cities, tools, or language. It was a world where survival balanced on the knife edge of instinct, where creatures with fangs and claws ruled the land, and our earliest ancestors were barely clinging to existence. But from this struggle, something extraordinary was born. The spark of intelligence, the courage to hunt, and the will to rise above every beast that stalked the earth. Can you picture yourself standing there, in the dawn of humanity, wondering whether you would live to see another sunrise? The African landscape, then, was both breathtaking and merciless. Herds of antelope thundered across the plains, while towering elephants, much larger than today's, shook the earth as they passed. In the rivers, crocodiles lurked just below the surface, their ancient jaws waiting for the careless. And in the sky, vultures circled, watching for death to come. But among this theater of life and death, a small group of primates began to walk upright. Not fully human, not yet, but no longer just apes either. Their name was Sahelanthropus chadensis, and they may have been among the very first to stand and look across the horizon with human eyes. Think of the courage it took. Standing upright meant they could see further, scan the grasslands for predators, and free their hands for something new. Not claws, not teeth, but tools. The first step toward hunting, shaping stone, and one day, reshaping the entire planet. Do you realize how fragile this moment was? If these ancestors had not survived, if they had fallen prey to the lions, leopards, or saber-toothed cats of their time, humanity itself might never have existed. But survival demanded more than courage. It demanded cooperation. Imagine a small band of these early hominids, huddled together as night fell, listening to the distant roars of predators echoing through the dark. Alone, they were weak. Together, there was something more. They learned to warn each other, to share food, to protect the young. Could this have been the birth of the first community, the first spark of what we now call civilization? And then, something revolutionary happened. Hunger drove them to become hunters. At first, they were scavengers, stealing scraps of meat from the kills of larger beasts. Picture the scene: a pack of saber-toothed cats crouched over a carcass, tearing flesh with blood-stained fangs. Once the predators moved on, trembling but determined, our ancestors crept in, seizing the bones and smashing them with rocks to reach the marrow inside. For them, this was not just food, it was survival. But it was also fuel for the brain. That extra protein, that marrow, began to change them. The brain grew, thought deepened, strategy emerged. Now, ask yourself, would you have had the courage to creep into the shadow of predators, risking your life for a scrap of bone? Would hunger make you brave enough? For them, it was not a choice. It was destiny. Over thousands of generations, what began as scavenging turned into hunting. Slowly, cautiously, they learned to stalk prey, to anticipate movements, and to cooperate in pursuit. They had no spears yet, no arrows, no fire. Only stones in their hands and the growing spark of intelligence in their minds. But that was enough. The hunters were awakening. Picture the tension of such a hunt, the rustle of grass, the pounding of hooves, the cry of a wounded animal, the adrenaline of pursuit. This was no longer the hunted, it was the beginning of the hunter. A turning point that would forever set humanity apart. But life 6.2 million years ago was not only about survival and struggle, it was also about wonder. For the first time, these ancestors could stand and watch a sunset across the horizon, see the stars emerge above them, and feel a sense, however faint, that they were part of something greater. Did they dream, as we do? Did they feel awe as they gazed at the night sky? Or was it only fear of the darkness and what it hid? Every choice, every struggle, every victory of those distant lives shaped the very blood in our veins. They walked so we could run. They hunted so we could one day build. They fought so we could one day imagine. Their story is not a relic of the past, it lives on in us. When you feel fear, when you feel hunger, when you feel the drive to achieve more than survival, you are echoing their ancient instincts. And yet, think of how fragile it all was. One drought, one plague, one wrong turn in evolution, and this incredible story might have ended before it began. What would the Earth look like without us? Would the lions still rule the savannah? Would the forests remain untouched, unshaped by human hands? As you imagine this world vast, wild, untamed, remember that every step you take today was bought by the courage of those first hunters. They carved the path, not with tools or weapons, but with endurance, bravery, and a will to survive. That is the true birth of humanity. So the next time you walk across a field, feel the wind in your hair, or hear the echo of animals in the distance, remember this: you are not just living in the present. You are carrying the story of millions of years of survival, struggle, and triumph. You are the heir to the hunters who dared to rise in a world that wanted them dead. This is our origin. This is our legacy. And it all began 6.2 million years ago, when the first human hunters were born. The question is, what will you do with the life they fought so hard to give you?